Today I'm going to compare the Yamaha HS8 and the ADAM Audio T8V studio monitors. So let's get into it. Both of these are very popular with similar specifications and price, but how do they stack up against each other? Let's have a look at the Yamaha HS8 first. When you open the box, you'll find the typical accessories. Besides the monitor itself, there's a manual and a power cord. The cabinet is made of durable MDF and the overall build quality feels solid. The tweeter is mounted in a shallow waveguide and the sides of the cabinet are rounded along their top and bottom edges. Each monitor weighs 10.2 kilograms, so these are very heavy. They're also fairly large. The HS8 has an 8-inch woofer and a 1-inch tweeter. The power output is rated at a solid 120 watts. It's bi-amped, of course, so there's 75 watts going to the woofer and 45 going to the tweeter. On the front, you have the iconic-looking white woofer and metal cover over the tweeter. The monitors are rear-ported, which helps reduce port noise. Their frequency response is 38 Hz to 30,000 Hz. On the backside, we have the base port and some cooling ribs for the built-in amplifier. There's also a volume knob. Unfortunately, the volume knob isn't notched, which is a slight annoyance. There is one notch at the 50% mark, though, and I just ended up leaving it at that level. After all, these speakers are quite powerful, so 50% will usually be more than enough. Below that, we have the XLR and TRS inputs and the usual trim controls that get it sounding just right in most rooms. One of the things that I like most about them is the low-end response. Many producers, and especially beginners, often struggle to mix low-end. The commonality is that they often mix on small monitors. The problem with smaller cones is that you don't get an accurate representation of the low end. A 5-inch woofer typically can't produce anything below 50 or 60 Hz. The HS8, on the other hand, provides a very solid low end, allowing you to really hear what's going on down there without the use of a subwoofer. The good thing about having this abundance of power combined with a relatively large cone is that you get a very good bass response even at lower volumes. This will make it much easier to mix low end. With these, you won't have to constantly check your mix in the car or with a subwoofer. They also offer superior clarity, as well as a fairly flat frequency response curve, as any good studio monitor should. To sum it up, the HS8s are really good all-around monitors, which is well suited for all kinds of music. But I think they will probably be especially well suited for EDM and bass-heavy music in general, simply because it's easier to mix low-end when you can actually hear it. It offers an unbeatable combination of precise, solid low-end and great clarity. If you're looking for a mid-range monitor, the HS8, in my opinion, is one of the best choices you can make. If you have a small or medium-sized room, though, then the slightly smaller HS7 or HS5 might be a better alternative. Next, let's have a look at the ADAM Audio T8V. The T8V is the newest addition to the T-Series from ADAM Audio. With the T-Series, they aim to provide professional-sounding studio monitors at an affordable price. In the box, you'll find the usual accessories, a power cord and a manual, as well as warranty information. Once they're unboxed, you'll notice that, unlike some monitors out there, these monitors look really good, at least in my opinion. The build quality feels solid, and the cabinet itself is acoustically optimized to reduce unwanted reflections, with a beveled front panel, which also happens to look aesthetically pleasing. Now, let's have a look at some of the key features. The T8Vs have a 1.9-inch UART ribbon tweeter combined with ADAM Audio's HPS waveguide. In short, this means that they are not as picky about positioning as some other monitors because they'll have a wider sweet spot. Below that, we have an 8-inch woofer, as indicated by its name. The V stands for vertical because these are designed to be in a vertical position. Each monitor is bi-amped, meaning there's an individual amplifier for each driver. The woofer receives 70 watts, and the tweeter receives 20 watts, culminating in 90 watts of total output for each monitor. The frequency response is quite impressive, ranging from as low as 33 Hz all the way up to 25,000 Hz. The crossover frequency is 2600 Hz. Maximum SPL per pair is 118 decibels at 1 meter, so these are capable of playing really loud. At almost 10 kilograms each, they're also quite heavy. On the backside, you'll find the bass port. The general consensus is that the rear port will help reduce chuffing noise. Below that, you'll find the usual controls, such as high and low filters, which allow you to correct for just about any room. If you can't avoid placing it close to the rear wall, then you can somewhat correct for that here. There's also an on-off switch and a volume knob. I found it a little bit disappointing that the volume knob isn't notched, not even at the 50% mark. This can make it more difficult to perfectly match the volume. I just set mine to 50%, which is straight up, and left it there. In terms of inputs, they have balanced XLR and RCA. Note that there's a selector switch between TRS and XLR, so if you hook them up and don't get any sound, then flipping the switch will probably do the trick. Here's the T8Vs next to a pair of 5-inch monitors. As you can see, the T8Vs are quite large in comparison. Mixing low-end can be difficult, so it's essential that you get an accurate representation of what's going on down there. The T8Vs do a great job in reproducing low frequencies, and when you crank up the volume, they really pack a punch. That's what I missed with the smaller T7Vs. The Yamaha HS8s, which I've been using up until recently, are well known for having a very solid low-end response, so I was eager to find out how the T8Vs would stand up to those. The ADAM Audio T8V is supposed to go down to 33 Hz, and they actually are 5 Hz lower than the HS8s. Numbers don't necessarily mean much, though, and ultimately it's how they actually sound that matters. They both have very good low-end response, and that's exactly what I was hoping would be the case. But in all honesty, I think the smaller T7Vs might offer slightly better mid-range clarity. That's not really surprising since these have larger woofers. Keep in mind that this is a two-way speaker, and the woofer is actually a full-tone speaker, and not just a dedicated bass woofer. Larger cones generally provide better low-end response, but smaller cones provide better mid-range clarity, so you'll always have to make a compromise there. If you want something that will excel in every way, you'll typically have to go for a three-way monitor, and those will be vastly more expensive. Personally, I believe that 8-inch monitors offer the best compromise. The ribbon tweeter found in the T8V is what gives it such superb clarity in the high end. This is something that has trickled down from ADAM Audio's higher-end monitors. You won't typically find ribbon tweeters in this price range. Ribbon tweeters cannot easily be mass-produced, so they're often handmade, which means that they're also quite expensive to make. A ribbon tweeter has a larger surface area, and it's supposed to introduce less distortion than a typical dome tweeter. This should enable you to mix longer without getting ear fatigue, and that's pretty much what I found to be the case after using both the T7Vs and the T8Vs. To sum it up, the T8Vs deliver a solid punch, equal to that of the Yamaha HS8. All in all, these are surprisingly evenly matched, but there are some subtle differences. I think the T8Vs provide slightly more clarity up top, and they also seem to be gentler on the ear during long mixing sessions. They sound kind of surgical and quite flat overall, which is great for mixing, but not ideal if you just want to listen to music. One of the advantages with ribbon tweeters is that they have a very fast transient response due to the low moving mass, and evenly spread drive over the whole surface. Dome tweeters, on the other hand, have a much larger mass and are therefore more difficult to control. which can in some cases cause unwanted resonance. That said, there are some disadvantages too with ribbon tweeters. They are expensive to make, and unlike dome tweeters, they generally don't respond well in their low frequency limits. As a result, the crossover frequency is usually higher on two-way speakers with ribbon tweeters, and that's probably why I feel the mid-range is a bit warmer and more controlled on the HS8s. If you were just to listen to music, then I would prefer the HS8s. They seem slightly more controlled in the mid-range, but they don't have the same clarity in the high end as the T8Vs. They said both of these are studio monitors, not hi-fi speakers, so they're supposed to be flat and analytical. The T8Vs have a slightly better low-end extension than the HS8s, but it's not something I really noticed during use. In the end, it's difficult to choose a clear winner here. Both of these are great budget monitors. They have plenty of power and good low-end extension, which is ideal for EDM and bass-heavy music in general. For precise and surgical mixing, I think the T8V's high-end precision should weigh heavily. However, the HS8 feels more controlled in the mid-range crossover region, so it's kind of like mid-range versus high-end. I recommend that you listen to both and try to make up your own mind because there's just minor details that separate them. People also have dissimilar hearing, which means that different people will always prefer one over the other. If you need professional feedback on your music, mastering, and so on, then check out the links below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button if you like this video. And as always, let us know in the comments below what kind of tutorial you would like us to make next. Thanks for watching.